Could we see a Twin Towers 2.0, the irresistible force and the immovable object?
Go, Spurs, go, 'cause the Giants stink.
What is up, San Antonio Spurs fans? Welcome to TSR Sports. I was surfing the webs this morning, came across another article from Aaron Allo talking about what if the San Antonio Spurs drafted Maluach if he's available. Should we draft him if he's available? Well, I'll answer that in just a few moments, but let's get into the article first. Duke center Khaman Maluach is projected to go in the 5 to 10 range. We sit at 8 at the moment. And although there are indeed fit concerns, there's also potential for a unique lineup that could make the Spurs a nightmare to play against. Spurs could resurrect the Twin Towers by pairing Maluach with Victor Wembanyama. All right, so far that sounds good to me. Maluach played as a traditional center at Duke, setting screens and rolling to the basket and crashing the offensive glass. He's a dominant offensive rebounder, something we could certainly use, and he's projected to be an elite defensive anchor in the NBA. Okay, rebounding, defense, size. Checking all the boxes, right? The Maluach-Wemby duo could be a dominant force. What would be the nickname for that? W&M, M&W? I don't know if we would do Twin Towers 2.0, would we? Anyway, Maluach has shown the potential to expand his range out to three-point land. He has good shooting form. Okay, that's good to read. And he shot a solid about 74% from the free throw line, showing that he has good touch. If he can develop into a capable three-point shooter in the NBA, then it would dramatically change his ceiling as a player. That's a big if, though, on the shooting. Defensively, Maluach is already a terrific rim protector, making excellent use of his 7'2" frame to contest shots at the rim. And I did a little check on him real quick. He's got a wingspan of 7'5" and a standing reach of 9'8", and he does weigh 250 pounds. So he would definitely bring the size, the length, the girth that the Spurs need. Pairing him next to Wemby would allow the Spurs to have a rim protector to in the paint at all times. Yeah, because Wemby's not there. There's not a lot of rim protection. The Spurs could start, and we're going to talk about potential starting lineups. The Spurs could start De'Aaron Fox, Stephon Castle, Devin Vassell, Wemby, and Maluach together for the first 6 minutes of each half before sending Maluach to the bench. A few minutes later, he could sub in for Wemby, serving as both starting and backup center. Okay, interesting. The Spurs selecting Maluach would be a surprising move, i.e. not likely. However, you're saying there's a chance. However, if they believe in his potential that he can develop into a stretch 5, then he'd be a solid choice with the 8th pick. All right, a lot to unpack here. I mentioned other starting lineups. I like the lineup they went with, but I'm going to, play a little lineup here and see how he fits with the team before I answer the question, should we draft him if available? First lineup that popped in my head was Maluach, Wemby, Sochan, Castle, Fox. And the immediate thing that's going to jump out at you with that lineup is abysmal floor spacing, as we have a bunch of guys that can't shoot the three. But we would have a ton of size, and that lineup, I would think, would probably be a top 5, maybe top 3, maybe the number 1 defense in the league. You got rebound, you got rim protection, we got versatility with so many Castle being able to switch. I don't know about Maluach switching on D if he needs to do some switching, but I think that would be a defensive nightmare. But the question is, where would the offense come from? The guys that like to slash into the paint, our Castles, our Foxes, those type of players, you got to think the paint's going to be really clogged up with the defender constantly setting off Maluach or Sochan to be ready for anybody driving in, and then we're just not going to have guys to shoot the three to space the floor. So I don't think that lineup works, but it does sound intriguing if we need a defensive stop. If you have a big lead and you're just trying to hold the lead, we'll see. Another lineup I came up with Maluach, Wemby, Barnes, Vassell, Fox. Offense up, defense down. But do we really want Stephon Castle coming off the bench in year 2? Probably not. Another option, Maluach, Wemby, Barnes, Castle, Fox. Our bench would be Vassell, Johnson, Penny, Wesley, Malachi, and I'm just looking at guys that are currently under contract, plus our rookies, our Rasheer Fleming. If we draft them, I'm assuming we're drafting Rasheer Fleming with the Atlanta pick, maybe Maxime Reyno, Riley Minix will be back in the mix, mix of the Minix. I'm sorry. A lot of questions there. But Maluach, Wemby, Barnes, Castle, Fox, Barnes is not here for the long term. He was phenomenal from the corners this year. It would give us some spacing. We still have the defense. There's a lot of question marks if we were to draft a player like this. Like, what would be the right starting lineup? And then you have the question marks of, will Devin Vassell accept a bench role? Will Harrison Barnes accept a bench role? I think he's the one that's probably most likely. Stephon Castle, will he accept a bench role? Does Spurs make some trades? So, in short, Do I think this would happen, or should it happen? I'm kind of on the fence. And the reason I'm on the fence is I have such a heavy bias on wanting a Twin Towers 2.0. That's my favorite player is right behind me. He's in the thumbnail right above me. And not only would we have possibly Twin Towers 2.0, and believe me, I'm not comparing Wemby and Maluach to Timmy and David. Different eras, different type of players, etc. But I can only imagine a Twin Towers in their prime, because both of them would be... Isn't Maluach one of the youngest players in the draft? In their prime. David was 32 and coming off of 2 injuries, the back injuries and the broken foot when Timmy joined the Spurs. But imagine a prime Timmy and a prime David. Timmy in his early 20s, David maybe in his later 20s, maybe 5 or 6 years older. Whew. That would be a dynasty. I mean, that wouldn't be just 2 titles between those 2 gentlemen. That would be many. Not 2, not 3, not 4. Not going there. It would be a lot. So... While I'm on the fence as I talk about it, I doubt it will happen. We really need shooting, and he does not fit the bill. And your Air Almo's article, there's a big if there, if he can develop into a 3-point shooter. We have enough players on the team right now that we have question marks on if they can develop their shooting, and I don't think adding another one. And that's the tough conundrum with this draft is if you draft a Maluach or a Queen, are you drafting him to start, or are you using a high lottery pick for backup? It's tough. I think Knippel's still the one the Spurs may take with the 8th overall pick. Unless we move up, then all bets are off on what happens. Then it's going to be Flag if it's number 1, Bailey if it's 3, 4, whatever. I'm very curious how Brian Wright's going to construct this team with the draft. And, of course, we hear the trade rumors left and right, or players that we might sign. Naz Reid's name's coming up. Aquaman's now coming up because I think he's a free agent after the season. So this is going to be a fun, extremely entertaining, but maybe a little stressful time as a Spurs fan on what exactly the team does in the next few months, because I think we're all in the same boat. We want them to win. 6 years of losing. I get the rebuild. There was the Kawhi Leonard trade totally changed the trajectory of the team. We moved past that. Now we've got a franchise player in Wemby. We're building around Wemby, but there's a lot of question marks on the roster with Keldon Johnson, with Damason. We talked about Jeremy Sohan yesterday. I really hope he stays injury-free and actually plays his position this season to see what he can do. If he's injured again, then I don't know what the Spurs are going to do with him. I just wish I'd like to see the team win. Get in the playoffs, do some damage in the playoffs. Not ready to win a championship yet, but I'm really ready for some Spurs playoff basketball. So that's all I got, guys. Drop a comment down below. Do you think there's any chance this would happen? Or are you like TSR? Nope, no way, no how. If he's available at number 8, we ain't taking him. Hit the thumbs up, like Sports channel. Subscribe, become part of our awesome Spurs community. I thank you, and as always, go Spurs, go.